Hey everybody, it's Monica. Just wanted to jump in real quick before this episode to say that if you are thoroughly enjoying Bonus Experience and you want to support us, it would be really, really helpful if you would go to iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, wherever, and leave us a 5-star review and tell everyone just how great and funny you think we all are. That'll help us get visibility and it'll help more people enjoy our show. Please like us, please subscribe to us, please leave a good review, and thank you very much and enjoy today's episode.
I read another account of someone was talking about I think I was reading about like how to overcome imposter syndrome with regards to like writing, but someone else was talking about how they play fancy airport chicken.
Okay.
Where they dress up really nice and then they like play chicken with all these men in these nice suits. They're like, you just rock in a straight line and you are gonna bump into people and you're not even gonna say I'm sorry because it's not your fault because they should have moved. Fancy airport chicken.
Fancy airport chicken.
Let's talk about things that we don't hate.
Yeah.
Let's talk about our favorite systems.
Let's talk about our favorite systems.
Let's actually start the podcast.
This has been recording this whole time, so we have this entire thing about me like, I hate these man babies who play this game I like.
Do you want to
have me salty?
Do you want to have that in there? Should I note this to Margaret? Like, hey, Margaret, cut the stuff out about the dudes we hate.
Yeah, Margaret, don't put the parts in about the dudes we hate. Please don't put the parts about the dudes.
You on that, Margaret? You got? Do you want me to sticky
She's
note?
giving the. I see her. She's giving the thumbs up. All right.
Yeah, she's all right.
We're good.
Okay, we're good. Margaret is the hardest working member of our team.
She is. I don't know what we would do without her.
Hey, who are we?
I'm Monica.
I'm Ray, and we're Bonus Experience.
This is Bonus Experience, yeah. It's the bonus experience you get for complaining before a session starts.
Yeah, when you just hang out and the GM's like, I got this game to run, and you guys like haven't seen each other all week, so you spend like 2 hours talking about like the crazy shit you did all week.
Somebody
the GM's
brings up
just like, hey, about those dragons we were gonna fight.
Yeah, somebody's like, Twitter made me mad, and then you have to talk about it.
It's like, oh girl, tell me about what Twitter did.
We're a podcast with a deeper look at the play experience and the finer details of running and writing games.
Also, we swear.
Yeah, I'm mad about it.
Also, we're queer.
Yeah, and
we had most of half of an episode talking about that. It's funny because today I went to the grocery store, right?
Okay.
And I have all these. So here's the part where we talk for an hour before we actually play the game. I read forever ago like stories of women who are like, I learned to stop getting out of the way of men when I was walking. Mm-hmm. And at the time I was like, that's a silly hill to die on. But then I started paying attention to the fact that, yeah, I do in fact move out of the way of like every man coming towards me. So I started playing grocery store chicken today.
Okay.
And the whole time I was thinking about like, I can take up this space. I have a right to walk in a straight fucking line down the Walmart aisle. Thank you very much. And it was empowering and also extremely silly because I was just there to buy like frozen vegetables and V8. but I made
frozen
room for
vegetables
myself.
And liquid vegetables.
Yeah, or the kids got it in their head that they're gonna have instead of school lunches, they're gonna have home lunches, which I'm all about. But they have like these really lofty pie in the sky ideals of like exactly how many vegetables they're gonna eat, and I'm like, no, I know you. I mean, I'll buy them. I'll put them in your lunch for you. We'll see what happens. But I think we all know who's gonna be scooping those out of the Tupperwares at the end of the day.
Yeah.
What were we talking about?
We're
talking about things that we like.
Yeah, we're talking about things that we like.
Yeah.
We're talking about your children and taking up
My
space.
children taking up space.
Yeah, I'm kind of afraid to
systems.
play grocery store aisle chicken with men because I'm skinny and lightweight, and I'm afraid I'll get knocked over. Genuinely get knocked over. So we want to talk about our favorite systems today, and this is going to be sort of a general bullshit thing. I don't think we're gonna. Normally, we do an examination of like running and writing in the play experience. That's our shtick. But I think today we're gonna just sort of bullshit about the stuff we like.
Yeah, just talk about some good things.
Yeah,
there's too many bad things. Talk about the good things.
Yeah, talk about the good things. Do you want to start? You want me to start?
I'll start.
All right,
yeah,
cool.
I actually one of my resolutions, I guess, this year is I want to get like more involved and kind of come out of my cage and do just fine. And one of the things I want to do this year is there's a couple of local gaming conventions in the Kansas City metro area, and I want to actually sign up to like host games, which I've never run for a convention before, and I love doing one shots, so why not? But that ties into it's half price tickets to it's CantCon in Kansas City, KANTCON, CantCon. It's half price for kids under or 12 and under, which are my kids. So I'm like, hey, you guys want to come do this with me? And they're like, yeah, that sounds great. Oh, but I still haven't been able to find the game that'll really click for them. They're 10 and 12, and D&D is just a little too complex, and they seem like they like it, but then as soon as combat starts, the 10-year-old just fucks right off. Like he's sliding down his seat, he's drawing on the wall, he's doing everything he can to not pay attention to combat. Which is why my first favorite system that I want to talk about Fate Core and Fate Accelerated. Because I think that if anything, Fate is the game that I go to when I first come up with like an idea for like a hack or a new like game setting or something new I want to run by something. I immediately jump to Fate because it's like begging to be modified. It's a modular kind of a system. Fate, for people who haven't played it before, is it uses fudge dice, which are basically like D3s.
D6s with pluses and minuses on them.
Yeah, but there's plus, minus, and blank.
Right.
So there's only 3 options on your D6, so it's like a 3-sided dice.
Pretty sure it's 2 of each,
or a
right?
3-sided dice.
It's 2 pluses, 2 minuses, 2 blank. 6 faces.
Yeah. And you roll 4 of those, and you sum up, a plus is, obviously +1, minus is -1, blank is 0. And with the way Fate works is you rank your skills, or in the case of Fate Accelerated, your approaches from like, 0 to 3 or 0 to 4, depending on how powerful you are. But Fate is very narrative. It's narration first, and then you figure out how the rules fit that. And it's kind of a blank slate. Like it's just a system without anything tacked onto it. So if you wanted to, you could play. There's a really popular like Fallout 4 hack for Fate. Fate Accelerated is even slicker than Fate is, because you can you don't have to worry about like a whole skill list. It's just the 6 approaches, like how clever you are, how careful you are, how sneaky you are, how quick you are, how forceful you are, how flashy you are. And that's it. You don't have to worry about like skills from there. But then, you sum your character up in like 5 sentences basically that are your aspects, and you can use those aspects to give you bonuses to your actions. You can re-roll your dice, or you can use them to just state a fact about the system, like because I have this aspect, then this happens right now. And it's just really fluid, and it can fit a wide variety of narrative first like settings. The combat is not as granular as say your D&D or your D20. But it's one of my favorites. I've been having some trouble like wrestling with it, trying to get my table group into Fate, because, and I think my problem has been that I've come into it without any setting, without anything already on the paper, and it just completely overwhelms them because Fate is so open-ended. And I think the next time I run it by them, I'll have it be one of the specific settings that they offer in the Fate supplements, because there's some really cool stuff in there. Like there's one called Camelot Trigger that's like Arthurian knights, but you're all in giant mecha,
okay,
which I think is fucking rad. Yeah, right?
That's what you said that, and that I was like, I really hope that's about knights in power armor, and you were like, yes! It's about knights in mecha, and I was like, yes!
Yeah, it's about knights in power armor. But I think I'd have to run with one of the pre-made systems instead of just going, well, I don't know, what do you guys want to play? Which seems to really hang people up.
If you're going to run a Fate game, and your group isn't accustomed to group world building or like setting building, which is something you can do with Fate. You totally can. I did it with one of the older iterations of our regular gaming group. We did that together, and it was awesome. But you have to have a group groomed to do that, and some groups have never done that before, and it can be very like decision paralysis if you are unpracticed at that, or if you're a group that doesn't quite have that kind of gel.
The reason that ties into my whole story about like, oh, I'm going to be running at a convention for the first time this year and my boys will be there, is I was trying to come up with, okay, what kind of, because I want to do Fate with the boys, because I think they would love Fate because it's very narrative first and it's pretty intuitive for people who are more or less new to role playing. But then I had to come up with I don't want to just make it up at the table, especially at a convention that I don't know what I'm getting when I sit down at the table, and I don't want to completely overwhelm kids. So one of the things that they're really into right now is Fortnite. So now I'm trying to come up with Fate Night Battle Royale and trying to figure out how to patch in their favorite things about the Fortnite Battle Royale game into Fate, and going from it being, how do I take a game that's all about basically like Hunger Games style combat of, be the last one standing, but then make it all about narrative and those really cool moments of oh, we got in a firefight and I pulled out my sniper rifle at the last minute, and how do you kind of take it out of the DPS and the quick reload and all the fucking system junk and actually make it about the cool epic heroic moments. And I really think Fate is going to be able to pull it off, because Fate is one of my favorite systems.
I have thoughts about this, but we'll talk about it after the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Isn't Fortnite like PUBG but cuter?
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
It's like PUBG meets Minecraft, but yeah, it's like a very accessible PUBG. Yeah.
I have a bunch of thoughts on that. But this is about favorite systems, not how I would design a hack Fortnite.
We'll do another system. We'll do another episode about help me with the system I'm making.
We could do bonus content or whatever. It's just here's Monica's design thoughts on how to create a Fortnite game.
This is your bonus experience.
bonus experience.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yes, please. All right, is that all you got for Fate Accelerated?
Yeah, you go. Yeah, well, you go next.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of repeat myself here because I have two things on the list that are kind of the same system, but they are different. So my first is Dungeon World, and I would argue that Dungeon World is actually the best edition of D&D because it is the Apocalypse world, or Powered by the Apocalypse is that general engine hack for D&D. And I think it's an ideal way to introduce people who want to play D&D but don't actually realize what's involved in playing D&D.
Right.
And I mean that in the sense that a lot of people these days have heard about it because of Critical Role, because of the Adventure Zone, because of Harmon Quest, and
Big Bang Theory,
and the IT crowd had a D&D episode.
The IT crowd's funny.
Yeah,
I can't talk about. I say Big Bang Theory with a scowl on my face.
Yeah,
but the IT crowd's oh yeah.
Yeah, well, I feel the same way. And I guess we could do a bonus experience on how much I hate the Big Bang Theory, but that's neither here nor there. But anyway, so it's a thing that's sort of come back into popular zeitgeist, but people don't realize that making a character is a pain.
Yeah.
I think 5e kind of toned it down a little bit, but imagine somebody a lot, yeah. But imagine somebody who's never seen an equipment table before looking at that.
Fuck, and then trying to explain okay, you get all these skill points,
right,
and skill ranks.
You have to do all this, and you have to put these things into your points, and it's not just you don't just
Here's how you find your modifier. You add your modifier to your skill ranks.
You don't just roll to see if you're getting drunk, and it doesn't move along like it does in shows. Those are edited.
They're trying to make D&D seem fun,
right? I don't want to make it sound like I don't think it's fun, because I've certainly had a lot of fun doing that. But I have had experiences with lots of inexperienced people in which they look at character creation and are like, "What are you nerds doing?" Basically.
Yeah, this looks like a lot of math.
Yeah, this is work. I'm like, yeah, well.
Yeah, you came in the post-Thaco days too.
Right? Yeah. We've made it easier for you. Yeah, man. But play is a little bit complicated, and there's a lot of addition, and Dungeon World runs off of the Powered by the Apocalypse engine, which is really, really slick. You roll 2d6, you add a stat that can't go higher than 4. You're looking for 7 to 9 is success with complication, 6 or less is failure, 10 or higher is full success. Your playbook goes step by step all the way down. You don't have to do math. You don't have to assign skill points. You just are this is my array. This is my name. This is my look. This is my thing. This is an ability I have. I get to pick one other of these things. I get to check a box that says this is the equipment I have. Here's the die I roll for damage. Boom, done. Mm-hmm. And when you read...
It's 10 minutes, even if you've never played it before.
Right. And when you read through a playbook, by the time you are done, you have a full understanding of who the character is and how you should play them. Having written playbooks, that is how you do it. The playbook is an experience. It is designed to be an experience. So when you build a character that way, you when you are done, you know how to roleplay.
Yeah, the playbooks are kind of like short stories in a system form. It's a really good exercise in using voice in actual like game like technical writing.
Yep. And like when I was doing them for No Rest for the Wicked, like I had Drive and Vice, which were like a good thing, like Virtue and Vice from New World of Darkness, where like you had a motivation and you had a bunch of quotes you picked from for your motivation, and then like a bunch of quotes you picked from for your vice, and then like that gave you a sense of like your character, what motivated them and what was their downfall, you know? So like other playbooks have similar things, but the point of designing a playbook is to give you your character, and even a novice who's never even so much as touched a D6 before could read a playbook, build their character, and then be ready to roleplay when they're done. That's how I feel about it. But Dungeon World is specifically D&D flavored, so there's humans, there's elves, there's dwarves, there's paladins, there's fighters, there's wizards, there's rangers, there's rogues. There's like everything you would expect from the trappings of D&D, with this really streamlined system, with a class that gives you the tools to roleplay and is super super simple, and then there's leveling up, and there's experience, and there's everything that tastes and feels like D&D but doesn't have any of the D20 bullshit nonsense.
And it does alignments in a way that I really like.
Oh yeah, it does alignments too as a playbook choice.
Yeah, and it's not like I'm lawful good. What does that mean? I don't know, I like the law and also I'm good. Like, it doesn't leave it vague. It says, okay, you are good, and then it gives you like an action.
Yes.
Like, you're good. This is how you express that. And it's a role-playing prompt. Like,
yeah, like one of them is, I think the fighter has something like, put yourself in the way to save another, or something like that.
Yeah, so there's no vagary. There's no, well, I'm evil, so I'm gonna do this. It's like, no, dude, you specifically have it on your sheet. This is like your evil prompt. And it's the only system I've been able to run where I'm totally okay with like evil characters playing, because there's, in very clear terms, exactly what kind of evil you are. So it's not just carte blanche for some asshole to come in and start murdering NPCs.
Right. Yeah, no, that's great. I totally agree with you. And again, alignment's the D&D flavor thing, doing it better than most
doing it better than
D&D do. So that you can, somebody who wants to play D&D, you're like, here, we're going to play this. You could even just tell them it's D&D, and I don't know that most people would be any the wiser. But maybe that's a bit of a dick move.
Maybe if you've got 10 and 12-year-olds who really think they want to play D&D, yeah, but then fuck right off when combat starts.
Right, yeah. Well, combat, I should probably talk about this. Combat in Dungeon World and in Apocalypse World, but Dungeon World actually uses damage dice. You roll, and how well you succeed on your attack roll determines whether or not you get hit back.
The GM doesn't actually roll for shit.
Right, and then you roll your own.
It's all player rolls.
Yep, and so you kind of keep everybody constantly engaged, because you have to roll your own damage dice.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's about all I have to say about Dungeon World.
I didn't have it noted on here because we started like this outline before I actually started running a game for this system, but Blades in the Dark is like my new immediate, like on my favorite list. I have a major game crush.
I've been in the game of Blades of the Dark for the last 3 or 4 months.
It's not even like what I would say one of my favorite sort of settings. Like, I'm not that into like the Eldritch horror or Victorian alternate histories. That's not really like my thing. I've never played Dishonored or Fallen London. Although after playing a bit of Blades in the Dark, I'm like, I could probably get into that. But what I love the most about Blades in the Dark is the system is a really, really awesome merger of Powered by the Apocalypse and Fate. And it does a lot of really it's so good at like getting to the action like immediately. Blades in the Dark is a system where you roll, it's a D6 system, sort of like Apocalypse World or Powered by the Apocalypse or Dungeon World, or instead of rolling 2d6, you have you have points. Yeah, you have a pool, sort of like a World of Darkness game where you have like, oh, I have this many dots in this skill, so this is how many dice I'm rolling. The whole premise of the game is that you and your fellow players are a group of ne'er-do-wells, like you're thieves or you're spies or you're assassins or you're smugglers or you're drug dealers, and you work in this really like dark and gritty and rainy and foggy and awful version of a like industrial like London, except it's a magic-y world where there's been an apocalypse and the sun doesn't shine and there's demons everywhere and there's magic.
It's very Fallen London.
It's very Fallen London. Very Fallen London. But the whole point of the game is that you guys are bad guys, more or less. I mean, it's kind of, you could almost say it's like pre-cyberpunk, because you're not really necessarily bad guys. You're just sticking it to the man because the world sucks. And the whole point of the game is like, it's basically like a heist game where it's very clearly like you have your prep for the score you're about to pull off. You have the score itself. You have the payoff for the score, whether you actually like pulled it off or not. Then you have like your entanglements and your downtime, and then you start over again. And one of my favorite things about Blades in the Dark is the prep is basically just, where are you guys going? What's your plan of attack? And, if there's any like, oh, we want to use this because they have a like, oh, we want to break into this drug den and kidnap this guy's daughter and hold her hostage. All right, cool. So are you going to sneak in? Are you going to fight your way in? And you decide how you're going to do it. And then as soon as you come up with like a bare bones plan, boom, you roll for like the first encounter, like you zoom forward in time to when you're actually there, when you've actually busted in, and the first sign of trouble. So because it skips all of the nitty gritty detail planning, you don't get bogged down in the, oh, I better bring this rope. Oh, I better bring that explosive. Oh, I better learn about that. Oh, I better steal that thing because it just jumps you right into the action. And Blades in the Dark gives you the tools to like retcon your way through it. It encourages retconning and metagaming, where you can like basically say, wait, no, this guard that came in, I actually want to run a flashback where I stole the schedule for the guard shifts and I knew that he was going to come in, so I'm prepared for it. And then you actually go back and play the flashback to give yourself that benefit. Is like, okay, now you catch up to present day and you have the schedule. So what was your plan now that you know the guard was going to come in? And it doesn't want you to stop and plan. It wants you to just fucking go with it and be adventurous and get into danger. And the more danger you're in, the more experience you get. And it's just it's really fun. It's really fast paced. And it does the whole like succeed with a cost thing that I like so much, like failing forward. It's really fucking cool. I really wish I had more people I could play it with.
Well, if you lived closer,
yeah,
you could play in our monthly game. But yeah, one of the things I really like about Blades in the Dark is that on your playbook, you when you go into a heist, you pick your load, which is how many items you can declare, and you get to declare them whenever. And they have so many tick boxes that they cost towards your load. I think I talked about in Diegesis about my character's coat flying open and declaring heavy armor. And I think heavy armor costs 2 or 3 load. And I'm playing the cutter, who I think can carry more stuff than most people can, being a big, dangerous fighter person. So I usually go in with like a light or moderate load, which is just like 5. So I will often declare like a regular hand weapon, which gives me 1 tick box, and then I have heavy armor. Tick tick.
But the beautiful thing about it is you don't have to decide any of that before the actual score starts. Of that
beforehand. So you I don't have to be like,
just a list of blanks. Like I brought this many, but I don't know what it is yet.
Right. Like we could go into a situation where I don't have to do any fighting, and I think like I could declare like a lantern or whatever, like some regular supplies or whatever on my tick box, and be like, nope, I have that. It's occupying one of my hands. Or like if a fight does break out, but I'm like, yeah, of course I have a sword in my coat.
Yeah, I'm a cutter. Of course I brought a sword. And
sword,
just mark it right off. Yeah, I love it. I love that it just zooms past the minutiae of, like D&D dungeon planning. Like you got to bring your rope, you got to bring your 10-foot pole, you got to bring your weighted bag of sand. But in Blades of the Dark, it's like we assume you have the stuff that you would need, so we won't even decide on it until it comes up that you need it. But then it can also get into some cool stuff if you decide like, oh, I only wanted light load because I wanted like a bonus to my stealth because now, I'm not carrying as much, so I don't look like a scoundrel. But then it comes up like, oh shit, I already marked off all my load. I didn't bring my lantern or whatever. And oh no, now it's like it was point of drama. If only I brought my lantern, and it's dark and you get shot and get eaten by some eels. I don't know. It's Blades in the Dark.
Cold eel on it.
Also, you can go to prison in Blades in the Dark, and it does not change your character's playability. You can still play from prison if you want. One of the things I was thinking, if I could convince someone else to run this game for me, is I want to play. There's a character archetype in Blades in the Dark called the Spider. That's like like Varys in Game of Thrones, you know, like your typical, like your fixer, your shadow broker, the guy who's like pulling on the strings. But you could very feasibly just play a spider who is like serving a life sentence in prison. But because you're so well connected, you could just say that you've pulled all these strings while everyone's actually on the score. You could still be in on that, and you could be role playing like everything via flashback or off camera of, no, I hooked this up, no, I set that up for them, and if somebody would run it for me, I could play that character.
So yeah, one of the other things that can happen, because you have to burn off stress. Stress is a spending mechanic that you do to do things like bonus dice or activate some powers. Or it's also the cost for teamwork, which is like the one thing I don't like about it.
Oh yeah.
We'll talk about that after the show.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're only talking about things we like.
We're only talking about things we like.
Yeah.
I mean, all these things we like have things about them that I don't like, but hey, that's life. Anyway, so like it's a spendable resource, but you have to like go indulge your vice to buy it down. Otherwise, you get trauma, and then if you get so many traumas, you lose your character.
Yeah, that's how you become unplayable.
Yeah,
you just get too fucked up. Gotta retire, man. No, it's too much, man.
It's too much.
Going out to work on an eel farm.
Yeah.
Whittle.
Well, yeah, I don't. Yeah, we can also talk later about. I don't know whether or not I like systems that have a permanent retirement mechanic at all. But hey,
it's not entirely permanent. If you level up your lair enough, you can unlock the 5th trauma slot, and then you can bring a retired character out of retirement for one last job.
That's true.
Which I also really like that. I feel like that's really
pretty cool.
It's really in genre.
What the fuck was I talking about? I keep getting distracted by things I don't like.
Stop it.
I know.
Let's talk about something you do like.
Yeah. Fuck. There was something. Oh, right. Your character can wander off.
Yeah, your character can overindulge
and wander off
and just sort of disappear,
and
like Lord Byron style.
Yeah, you are supposed to roll up a new character, but I was like, look, if I ever take this option, I'm just going to be a character with a different name who is literally the same character. I'm gonna Nurse Joy this shit.
Aww.
This is my sister.
You have the choice to elevate an NPC at that point.
Yeah,
there was like a member of your gang that you're like, oh,
I
that
don't want to have
to
do the work of making a new character.
It takes like 2 minutes.
I was just like, but it's funny to be like, I'm a different person, but it's the same person.
I'm not. No, that was Sarah the Cutter. I'm Tara the Cutter. Sarah's cousin.
You missed a perfect opportunity to be like, that was Sarah the Cutter, I'm Tegan the Cutter.
Oh, God. You're right, I'm sorry.
So yeah, on that note, still in the same vein, I gotta put Apocalypse World on this list. I think
the other powered by the Apocalypse
OG,
game everybody plays.
The OG.
Yeah, that's right.
I think it would be remiss to talk about Dungeon World and Blades in the Dark, and to like heap praises on these alternate versions of the system and not also go back to the source. I mean, a lot of the things that I like about Apocalypse World are also things that I like about that other game we were literally just talking about, Blades in the Dark. In that it's the root for all of these things, but most importantly, it is gritty without incompetence.
What do you mean gritty without incompetence?
Okay, so like a lot of games want to be low fantasy and they want to be dark and they want to be dangerous and like I will cite Warhammer Fantasy for this one. Do you remember talking about wizards that shit themselves?
Oh, yeah.
Like, one of the problems with Warhammer Fantasy is that it's supposed to be a low fantasy game. You're a pig poker, you roll in the shit, you're a wizard, you poop yourself. When you try to cast magic, nothing works out for you. Blah. And
everything sucks.
You have super low stats. Because part of the game's design intent is that you will mine for bonuses, and like that you will collect buffs. You will try to like take advantage of scenery or whatever, but it doesn't ever come out and tell you that. So a lot of GMs run it without remembering that because it's not called out anywhere. So what you ultimately have is a character who sucks,
and that's it.
Like, also, I feel like I've shat on D&D a lot, but I'm going to do some more of it.
Okay.
A lot of pre-4E editions of D&D also have the same issue where, like, if you're a level 1 character, you just suck.
A cat could kill you.
Yeah, a cat can kill you. You have a +1 to each skill, which is not enough, is barely enough to reach a basic difficulty of 10. You know? 50% success most of the time is kind of low odds, actually. So what Apocalypse World does is create, and Blades in the Dark both is create a world that is dangerous and scary for the protagonists, but your characters are not incompetent. You do not have low skills. You have the same chance of failure with consequence most of the time. And in fact, once you start getting good at things, then that gap closes. But like the whole 7 to 9 is success with consequence creates a world that's gritty and dangerous without you feeling like you've failed all the time.
Yeah, having that gray area in systems is, I mean, I think that might be what links a lot of the systems we've been talking about here, where it's not this binary of either you did it or you don't. There's that gray area of you did it, but which keeps the momentum going so well, as opposed to, you know, okay, we'll make a perception check. Oh, did you fail?
Oh, too bad.
Yeah, I guess nothing happens. It's such a bummer. It's just a demented way of trying to keep something going.
Yeah.
But yeah, Apocalypse World is, you know.
Yeah, and it's imminently hackable. It's such a great core system.
God, almost by design, it's just a great, like, I don't know. Apocalypse World's really good. even if you're not interested in post-apocalyptic systems, even if you're not interested in what it is, like the system of like consequences that Apocalypse World uses, you should still read the Apocalypse World like source material, because it's just really good.
It has the best GM section I've ever read.
Yeah, I use a lot of the techniques in the GM section in games that have nothing to do with Apocalypse World, just because it's such a good, like, fucking source.
Yep.
It's just really good.
Yeah, it's just really good. You should.
It's just really good.
Y'all should.
And
it's produced by a small publisher, so please, by all means, go out and buy a copy from them.
Yeah.
Give them your money.
My favorite Let's Play is doing a game now that's powered by the Apocalypse. So it's been real good. It's been awesome. As opposed to, like, they did a Fate run recently that was just fucking disastrous. So I'm really good to see them getting back on their feet.
Yeah, to point out how imminently hackable it is, I used Apocalypse World at Dungeon World powered by the Apocalypse engine to run a Sailor Moon game.
Yeah, I was in that game.
You were.
I was Sailor Saturn.
Sure. Yeah, you came in late, so you missed the really excellent first arc, but the second one was pretty good too.
Yeah, Apocalypse World is extremely good. We just got 2 in, right?
Yeah.
Do we want to save some of this for a part 2, or do we want to keep going?
Yeah, let's do a part 2.
Yeah, okay. I mean,
I want to say something, because we talked about some stuff last time, and I felt like I stepped in it a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So I talked about the character in our D&D game who became a woman, and I was like, oh man, that sounded really transphobic, and that's not what I meant. Also, I wanted to point out that I was referring to the character distinctly as he and then she, because he didn't. The player did not have a character transition. It wasn't like the player decided that his male character was going to become a woman. Like, oh, she's going to do this spell and turn into a lady, and that's going to realize her true gender. You know what I mean? Like real trans people do, who've been like, I'm a lady this whole time. Now I have become something else. No, it was like a weird chaotic thing that turned him from a he into a she.
It was a weird chaotic thing?
Yeah, it was like a chaos magic thing.
Oh, it was like unintentional?
Yeah, it was. The player asked for it.
It was a Ron the Half situation.
Right. The player asked for it out of character, as like, I would like this to be a thing to happen. But the character, it happened unwittingly to the character.
Okay.
So it was not a gender transition. It wasn't a metaphor for transness. It was literally a male character fell in the spring and became a woman. Like, that's
okay.
But permanently. Okay. Yeah, because Rama gets to change back and forth based on a water situation, temperature of water situation. And for this character, it was not a transition. It wasn't a realization of whatever. It wasn't a metaphor for transness. It was literally male character becomes female character. My character,
where did the whole,
in a relationship with them, was like, okay, cool.
Hot water, cold water, was that just an excuse for like really awkward bath scenes?
Are we now talking about Ranma half? I don't know.
Yes. It was like my first anime, and I keep coming back to it. Like, I watched a lot of Ranma half when I was younger.
No, I don't know.
And then I watched a lot of Utena.
And now you're gay.
And now, what happened?
Yeah, so no, really more of a Ranma half situation, not a metaphor for transness. I felt a need to clarify that so that people weren't mad.
All right, thank you for clarifying.
Talking about it insensitively. There was very clearly a period where, male character, now female character. Weirdness had to do with
Accidentally.
like a cosmic chaotic chaos magic shape-shifting change, and like the character was real upset about it, but my character was like, cool. I still
don't
love
think
you.
I've ever had a gender change. No, in one of the Exalted games that I ran, the character had the Hearthstone that lets you change your gender at will.
Yeah, I wish I had that in real life.
And I had that'd be fucking awesome. Especially as like anyway, we'll talk about that in a later bonus experience. I was running an Exalted game where everybody had amnesia, and I basically had their characters made beforehand, and they had to remember who their characters were. And it sounds like, oh, that could be really bad, but I knew these players really well, and it ended up being like really cool. But one of the characters didn't realize that they were attuned to a Hearthstone of gender swap or whatever the hell it was called. And so there was a lot of question at the end of the actual how the gender identity of that character had changed. And it was in a time, it was 10 years ago, so way before I got woke, and I don't know if I handled it right, but now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, that's still kind of a cool you have amnesia, so this is basically you now, so I don't IDK, man, what gender you want to be.
Either if you want to.
Change it if you want to.
Change it if you want to. Not time for change it if you want to. We have some more things.
Change
it. No.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay.
Jesus, Ray, we gotta go through the thing. We have a thing now.
Go through the thing.
Go through the thing, right. So if you want to get in touch with us, you can find us in all these places. We are bonusexpcast.wordpress.com. That's our website. If you want to shoot us some listener mail, give us some feedback, tell us what you like. We always welcome your polite and engaged feedback. Ask for GMing advice. Tell us about some games you want to tell us about your character. We're listening. You can shoot us a message at bonusexpcast@gmail.com. And if you want to, please follow us on Twitter at bonusexpcast.
If you want to just find us individually, I'm Ray_Cole on Twitter. That's RAI.
And I am at Zenith Sun, like the Solar Cast from Exalted.
I think that's all our things.
Yeah, that's all our things. So yeah, change it if you want to.
Fucking change it if you want to. Bonus Experience is written and produced by Monica and Ray. Our theme song is Reuse Noise with the Light by CDK and is used under the Attribution Non-Commercial Creative Commons license. And our cover art is by Nino Studios. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to save your charm action for a perfect defense.